Hi, and welcome to this introduction to Uncanny LP, Uncanny Owl's learning platform. What we did with this platform was try to create something that really captures what our e-learning clients need. So we looked at what's common across sites and put it together into a platform that is really easy to jump into, that we maintain, and that still gives you the flexibility of WordPress. So what we essentially did was took all the best-in-class tools and what we've learned from developing at this point over 100 e-learning sites for clients, all with different capabilities. We took all of that and put it into a consolidated platform that delivers a smooth experience that's really easy to work with and deliver both your marketing presence for your organization as well as serve your courses and work with your learners. Common issues with doing it yourself include things like the learning curve. So when you're setting up a WordPress site and using it for a learning platform for the first time, there's a lot to learn. There are a lot of plugins to install, a lot of themes to evaluate, and you have to make everything work together. Usually it takes people a couple of months to get relatively comfortable with something, and even then, they're only really working from the experience they have on that site. So it takes a long time, it is complicated, you'll invariably run into issues. There are a lot of challenges, and we see them all the time, and that's why we have a business to support users that are having challenges with e-learning in WordPress and how to deliver it. One of the big issues too is conflicts between plugins with the theme and everything else you're doing. What plugin vendors tend to do is only support their plugin, not how it works on a site with other plugins, not really working towards a seamless user experience and an integrated site. So quite often you'll experience conflicts, you'll talk to support, it might go back and forth over a couple of weeks. There tend to be a lot of issues. We get involved so that clients don't have to deal with that and they have a single point of contact for everything they do. And that's what we did with LP. So it really simplifies what you can do and also our experience managing it and giving you advice and training on how to make the most of what you have. We've also incorporated a lot of our best practices. So after over three and a half years working with WordPress e-learning sites, we know pretty well what works and what doesn't, and we have a pretty big code base. And we spent probably over 1,000 hours now, building this platform as a model for what we think would appeal and work for most organizations that are offering e-learning. The other big benefit to using the site is it really reducing the time to market. So if you're trying to launch an e-learning site, setting everything up, adding your content, just setting up the platform itself typically takes someone who's new to it several months. Even when we're building a site, if we were building a site like Uncanny LP, for someone that's new, doesn't have an existing site, and it has a reasonable amount of complexity, that's probably a 2 to 3 month project for us. So by offering LP, we're able to get the site available within a day, and then you can immediately start offering content. And LP isn't just about learning. We also make it possible to use it with blended learning models. We enable e-commerce so that there are a lot of options around subscriptions and integrations with CRM tools and marketing automation. A lot of different payment options, and you can sell different types of products. It makes it really easy. And again, what you're getting is something that's really easy to modify. There are a lot of samples, so you can go in and edit them. It's a lot easier than starting from the beginning. There are forums for facilitated and social learning. There's blog capabilities. The learning experience too has been heavily refined to what we think works for most people. The target, of course, is still self-directed learning. There are some interventions for facilitation, but it works especially well for self-directed e-learning programs. So if you're familiar with WordPress, we've taken WordPress and again we've tried to simplify it. So how do we make that as simple as possible? And it's not by having an overwhelming list of options and features and the capability to add your own plugins and a really confusing menu where there's not consistency across it and it takes a lot of time of experimenting and setting things up. So we try to make things really simple, like very robust training programs. Um, there are many hours of screencasts and a lot of text. There's knowledge bases, everything that you can reference. Plus, everything's already set up, and if you just want to jump into it and make some changes, you can do that. Or you can do something that is more significant and redesign the site and build it out the way you need it. And instead of having to manage plugins and figuring out, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, we make it really easy just to turn off sets of capabilities. So, instead of dealing with individual plugins, we have sets of plugins and we manage their features as a group. So instead of looking at individual plugins, we just think about, what do you want to offer here? Is it gamification? Is it e-commerce? And then instead of each little piece having to manage that, we make it possible to manage entire categories and just flick a switch on and off, and then it's working on your site. So very straightforward. And if you're familiar with our Uncanny Learn Dash toolkit, it's a very similar model, and we do use that on the site as well to extend the capabilities here. It really gives you the flexibility of WordPress without having to worry about breaking anything. That is one of the limitations. We do restrict what you can do on the site. You can't add your own plugins. You can't modify code. There is no child theme that you can modify. We control all that. You can still restyle it. There are a lot of options in the customizer. You can use custom CSS, but you can't add custom code. And by doing that, it lets us really control the user experience and make sure nothing breaks and make sure that we can support you really quickly, because we will know your site inside and out. Everything that's on the site too is already set up with samples, so you can jump in. There are lots of sample pages as well as templates, so that if you're creating new page types, you can just choose one of the existing templates and jump right in. So the core pages you need, it's easy to jump right in and just edit them. You can start with what we've already built instead of starting from scratch. So we've built already what we think works and what we use on client sites, and you can use that as a starting point instead of doing your own thing. And even then, when you do want to do your own thing, it's just a matter of going in, saying you want to do something new, maybe still using an existing template. So you can go in here. We do make it really easy to work with Visual Builder or this other page builder, and from that you can just choose a layout that works. So if you have one of these page types or one of these page types, you can easily load that, customize it, preview it, modify it so that it works with your context, and it's really easy to manage. It uses Learn Dash as the foundation for the LMS plugin. So what we've done is we've taken Learn Dash and we've extended it so that it works the way we find it most useful, but still gives you the fundamental Learn Dash capabilities. So if you're looking at a Learn Dash platform, this one makes it really easy to work with Learn Dash without some of the complications of integrating it with other systems and how is it going to work with e-commerce or with CRM integration or anything like that. Everything is already set up. Everything is built. We do provide support too. So as well as the hosting, which is really best-in-class hosting for a Learn Dash site, we do provide support so that if there's anything you need, we do have people that are very adept with Learn Dash who spent years doing development for it, as well as front-end development if anything comes up that you do need assistance with, that the training is not able to support. I did mention the hosting too. So we've got this on a platform. We've done a lot of load testing and a lot of hosting experimentation, cross-managed WordPress hosts, to really find what we think is the best performance for Learn Dash. And on your Uncanny LP site, you should see page load times of at least under 3 seconds. Again, you can control what you're doing on the site. So if performance is key and you don't need a lot of features, then we can just turn things off. And by turning things off, it gets even faster. So a lean site, we can deliver performance that's under 1.5 seconds and can support hundreds of simultaneous learners if we need to in a normal situation or a surge situation. So with most WordPress hosts that aren't really doing tailored Learn Dash hosting, for shared hosts, we typically see a load limit of about 5 to 10 simultaneous learners. Even on really optimized hosting, if it's still at the consumer level, it can maybe support up to 25 to 40 learners, depending on the complexity of the site. But we've done a lot of testing and made sure that what we're doing here can support hundreds of learners simultaneously if it needs to, and without having to worry about things breaking. You can see when I did just turn some things off there, it in this case the gamification, the badges, then some things stop working. So it's important to, like, there are some things where traditional WordPress comes into play in terms of things like shortcodes, and we have a list of all of those. So it's important to have a basic awareness of how things work in WordPress, but we just simplify everything. So you can see like performance times across this, they're very fast. Oh, that one's disabled because I disabled e-commerce. And that other one won't work either. But everything is very quick. Navigation and the user experience. Right now, as I'm going through this, I'm seeing load times of under 1 second. And it might not be obvious, but I do have a timer running in the browser that is showing me that, and load times as I'm going through this are about 0.9 seconds, which for a LearnDash site, if you have worked with LearnDash sites, is very fast and very competitive. So if I go through these types of things, they're all very fast, even when we're loading content from other sources, like in this case, YouTube. Again, there's a lot of samples. So that basically concludes this introduction to LP. It's really a way to get up and running with an e-learning site using WordPress that's going to be very robust, very stable, very easy to use, and well supported. It simplifies everything, really increases your speed in getting a site up, and makes it a lot easier to transition to a WordPress e-learning site.